For the first time in over 60 years, we have fragments of a biblical book. The story of Adam and Eve is deeply embedded in our culture. Among the ancient tales of Hollow Earth, one of the most intriguing involves the Garden of Eden. An ancient legend, recorded in a very old text called the Sepher Tamuna, or the Book of the Image, speaks of this. This book, shrouded in mystery and speculation, has intrigued scholars and theologians alike, suggesting deeper layers to the well-known biblical narratives. For millennia, the story of Adam and Eve has been etched in our minds: the forbidden fruit, the serpent's temptation, and their expulsion from paradise. But what if there's more to the story? What if a hidden chapter, a lost book, has been waiting in the shadows, whispering a truth far more terrifying than we ever imagined? Scholars have spent years searching for this mythical text. Now, whispers are becoming shouts as archaeologists claim to have unearthed the real deal. But what they found isn't a comforting bedtime story. Join us as we dive into a story that will leave you questioning everything. This discovery promises to reshape our understanding of early biblical history, shedding light on ancient beliefs and practices that have long been forgotten. The books of Adam and Eve were discovered in the Egyptian tomb of Tutankhamun and subsequently published in 1926. Now, it is one of the oldest books in existence, hailing from Egypt right at the dawn of Christianity, and it's heading up for auction. This book discusses the experiences of the well-known characters from Genesis following their expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Despite debates over the dates and authenticity of their purported antiquity, the books of Adam and Eve demonstrate an underlying set of prehistoric beliefs. The Apocalypse of Moses is the Greek title given to this book, which Paul must have encountered in some form since it is mentioned in 2 Corinthians. This connection to early Christian texts provides a fascinating link between different traditions and interpretations of these foundational stories. The original story was presented as a revelation to Moses, but the Latin version starts with an English translation. Although the exact date of the story's creation is unknown, scholars generally agree it was written in the 1st century CE in a Semitic language, but might have been told long before being recorded in writing. Primary Latin textual sources date from the 9th, 10th, and 12th centuries. This work's history has not been well recorded because it was thought to be pseudepigraphical. A collection of historically accurate but fictitious biblical works is known as the pseudepigrapha. This book was left out of the Holy Bible compilation due to its stigma. Even though some consider it pseudepigraphical, it offers important context and understanding of historical events. This book is an oral history passed down from generation to generation, connecting the creation of the first human life to the moment someone decided to record it. Stay tuned, the story is just getting interesting. As we delve deeper, we uncover the rich tapestry of myths and legends that have shaped religious thought for centuries. The Book of Adam and Eve is reportedly a written account of what happened after Adam and Eve were driven from the Garden of Eden. It is also known as the contradiction of Adam and Eve, or the conflict of Adam and Eve with Satan. Satan told Adam and Eve that the fruit was actually good for them, but God didn't want them to have it. Satan was trying to convince Adam and Eve that God could not be trusted. The author of the Book of Adam and Eve is thought to have been an unidentified Egyptian who originally composed the narrative in Arabic. Eventually, the book traveled further south and was translated into Ethiopian. Although the exact composition date of the Book of Adam and Eve is unknown, many scholars think it was composed decades prior to the birth of Jesus. The book was first published in English in the 19th century. This historical journey of the text highlights its cultural and religious significance across different regions and eras. The Book of Adam and Eve consists of 2 books. The first book details Adam and Eve's flight from Eden and the temptations they faced from Satan afterward. The book reveals that Cain and Abel had twin sisters. Cain killed his brother because he was in love with his twin, Lulua, but his parents wanted him to wed Abel's twin. The history of the patriarchs before the flood is told in the second book. It describes how the children of Seth dwelt on Mount Hermon, the holy mountain, until they were persuaded by the daughters of Cain to descend from the mountain and, as fallen angels, lose God's love. Next came the death of Cain, who was killed by Lamech the blind, and the lives of the other patriarchs up until Noah's birth. This intricate narrative weaves together the moral and spiritual struggles of early humanity, offering profound insights into the human condition. In the first book, the punished serpent attempts to kill Adam and Eve but is prevented by God, who again punishes the serpent by rendering it mute and casting it to India. Satan also attempts to deceive and kill Adam and Eve several times. In one attempt, he throws a boulder encompassing Adam and Eve. God eventually saves them and compares this event with the upcoming resurrection of Christ. God also predicts several future biblical events, including Noah and the flood. Great emphasis is placed in the first book on Adam's sorrow and helplessness in the world outside the garden. This portrayal of Adam's vulnerability and his reliance on divine intervention underscores the themes of repentance and redemption. When God made Adam leave the garden, he did not place him on the northern border so that he wouldn't go near the water and wash himself clean from his sins. God did not want Adam to forget the sin he had committed and no longer be reminded of his punishment. Similarly, God did not put Adam on the southern side of the garden so he wouldn't smell the sweet aroma of the trees and find comfort there. Instead, God made Adam dwell on the western border of the garden, where the earth is vast. He commanded Adam to dwell in a cave called the Cave of Treasures below the garden. This geographical placement symbolizes the ongoing struggle and separation from divine grace, a theme central to the human experience of exile and longing. When Adam and Eve left the garden, they walked the grounds on their feet, not knowing where they were treading. When they reached the gate of the garden and saw the broad earth spread before them, covered with stones and sand, they feared, trembled, and fell on their faces. Having been in the garden, beautifully planted with trees, they found themselves in a strange land. God took pity on them, raised them from their fallen state, and sent his word to them. Adam and Eve wept after coming out of the garden. Adam, looking at his altered flesh, wept bitterly. They walked gently down into the Cave of Treasures, where Adam lamented the cave's conditions compared to the garden. He bowed to God's orders and entered the cave, understanding that disobedience would again bring punishment. This poignant moment of realization and acceptance marks a significant turning point in their journey. On the morning of the 43rd day, Adam and Eve came out of the cave, sorrowful and weeping, their bodies lean and parched from hunger, thirst, fasting, and their heavy sorrow over their transgression. They prayed to God for forgiveness on a mountain west of the garden. God, seeing their repentance, sent a cherub to give them 2 figs from the garden. Adam and Eve took the figs, recognizing them as the fruits of the trees they had hidden themselves in. Satan and his hosts then tried to deceive them by transforming into beautiful maidens and their families, claiming Adam and Eve should wed and have children as they did. Adam, wary of Satan's deception, prayed to God for guidance. This episode highlights the continuous spiritual battle and the importance of vigilance and faith. God approved of Adam's cautiousness and sent angels with gifts of gold, incense, and myrrh to signify respect for Adam's wedding to Eve. The angels instructed Adam to betroth Eve and give her the gifts, then fast and pray for 40 days and nights before coming together. Adam and Eve obeyed, and their union was blessed. They had children, including Cain and Abel, and their story continued with trials and blessings. This divine endorsement of their marriage and the ritualistic preparations emphasized the sanctity and significance of their union. The Book of Adam and Eve contrasts significantly with the Book of Genesis, offering a different perspective on creation, the fall, and the nature of humanity. While Genesis is central to Judaism and Christianity, depicting a majestic and orderly creation process and emphasizing humanity's unique place within creation, the Book of Adam and Eve focuses more on psychological motivations, the introduction of shame, and suffering into the world. This alternative narrative enriches our understanding of the complexities and nuances of these foundational stories. Both narratives serve as cautionary tales about the consequences of disobedience and the complexities of human nature. They have sparked theological debates and influenced interpretations of human nature, morality, and our relationship with the divine. As we reflect on these ancient texts, we are reminded of the enduring power of these stories and their relevance to contemporary issues of faith, ethics, and the human experience. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. You can share with us what you know by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. Thank you so much, and see you next time.